Hello and welcome back to After This Sports Podcast. I'm again joined by Jonathan, and we're going to be going over some of our best bets, lines for this weekend, actually tomorrow's games at this point. But let's hop right into this. This is going to be a shorter episode. We already did one early in the week, so definitely check that out. But let's just start with the big one here. And we talked about it a little bit last week, but Texas, Alabama, the line is now at Alabama minus 20.
hmm
What do you think here?
Uh, I'm pretty comfortable betting Alabama. It's actually one of my favorite plays of the week. This isn't this isn't about, I think Texas is really bad because you know how I feel about Texas. I think they're a really good football team, but I've gone on the record saying that this is the best team, like on paper ever, this Alabama team. And I don't think that Texas is going to be any match for them. Alabama leads this year in college team talent by like a significant amount, like ridiculous amount of points. And I think that Texas's O line being as young as it is against Alabama's Alabama's pass rush, it's going to take a special day from Steve Sarkisian scheming wise to keep Texas even close in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Texas is going to try to do is they're going to run a lot of their um like short screen passes, bubble plays, reverses, all the stuff that gets Xavier Worthy, Bijan Robinson the ball in their hands with space, because they're not going to be able to run what they want to run against Alabama.
Yeah.
They will disrupt everything. I might want to. This might be a bold take, but I mean, I think Texas is going to get probably less than 120 rushing yards in the game. That could
Yeah.
be a very hot take, but um, Alabama's rush defense is incredible, and that's not being talked about enough. I don't know if they're up there with Georgia last year, but they are elite,
Yeah.
and Texas is not going to have the dogs to go the entire way of this game. So
Yeah, and I kind of feel that Texas, as young as they are, they kind of need a game like this. It's a good learning experience for them, and it's honestly like a very good measuring stick for like, okay, this is what we want to be, and this is where we are now. But I
yeah,
think that they're going to be like you can't really be caught off guard by like how big and how fast Alabama is. But I think actually getting onto the field and Quinn Ewers getting back there is going to be there's going to be some surprises for them
you know
that
what
they're
though.
not at the level yet.
The one thing I will say is like you can make a few comparables like from this Texas team to Texas A&M last year,
Mhm.
who beat Alabama, and like an early the season big road game. Um, Again, like Texas probably has a better quarterback. I mean, they didn't have what Texas A&M had on the line on both lines. However,
Right.
you can like make a case that Alabama can be caught a little bit off guard, but I think they learned from what happened last year in some of those closer games that you can't let these teams hang around. And I think Alabama's going to fire on all cylinders.
Yeah, and I also don't think that Texas had like you said the line play that A&M had to kind of give their quarterback time. It's going to be a lot different of a game plan than what A&M had a year ago.
Let's go on to another SEC matchup. I'm saying Texas is in the SEC, they're in the SEC already,
No,
but
no, no.
South Carolina going against Arkansas. Arkansas coming off of a big win against Cincinnati. The line is currently Arkansas minus 8.5.
Mhm.
What
Yeah,
what do you like there?
big line. I took this in part of my teaser when it was at 7 earlier in the week. I'm pretty confident Arkansas winning the game. They got some. I wouldn't bet 8.5 just because Arkansas is a little banged up in their secondary right now. I know Jalen Catalon is not for sure playing this week, but I also think this South Carolina team like they have a lot of new personnel, and I think they kind of overachieved last year. So I'm not super high on this team that Shane Beamer has. They got some quality players if they play to their potential, but I also think that Arkansas is a much like more together and experienced group of players, and I think they probably handle this one, but I would be hesitant to lay the 8.5.
I don't know. I feel like I might disagree a little bit. I like South Carolina a lot. I don't think the way they played last week was the way that like how talented that team actually is. And Again, Arkansas played well against Cincinnati, but I didn't think Cincinnati was all that impressive. I thought Arkansas was solid, but again, their offense really struggled in that game. You mentioned the banged up secondary. I think South Carolina's actually had a solid matchup here, and I think South Carolina has a chance to win this game. The 8.5 to me, like I would like it better if I could take South Carolina like maybe plus 9.5 or like 10.5, but I don't know. I might ride with South Carolina plus 8.5. I really do think that they're gonna play a lot better, and I didn't think Arkansas looked 8 points better than South Carolina. I
Yeah,
thought these teams are more even. These teams are more even than the rankings suggest.
that could be very true. South Carolina, like they do have a corner that's probably a first round pick. So we'll see what Arkansas kind of comes at with them offensively because I believe they have a running back hurt as well. But
Yep.
uh,
Now, there's another game that I wanted to just touch upon just because I felt like the line was a little bit interesting, and I'm not sure how it moved, but Marshall against Notre Dame. Notre Dame's favored by only 20.5. I mean,
mhm.
what like do you want I personally I look at this line and I think okay I'm like hammering Notre Dame minus 20.5. Like they
Yeah,
should blow them out, but why is that line so low?
I'm I think it's more of the fact that I'm not sure Notre Dame wants to play a style where they're beating anybody by 3 touchdowns. I don't feel like that's the way they want to play because it's not playing to their strengths. I'm sure what they want to do is just like hammer away and run the ball 30, 35 times and then like short passes, screens, just get out and beat up Marshall on the perimeter physically. I'm that could scream backdoor cover to me too. But again, this Marshall team is not great.
Okay, let's go on to one more. Any interesting lines here? How about this one actually? Appalachian State, who really gave North Carolina a lot of troubles, going um, to College Station against Texas A&M. Texas A&M's favored by 19 points, and put that in perspective, Notre Dame is only favored by 20 against Marshall.
Mhm.
So, like, what are you feeling here? Do you think Texas A&M is going to like cover that? Because I think that game could be a little bit dicey in the first half. Maybe Texas A&M will win the game. I just think that 19's a lot of points for a team that is going to be really angry coming off of a bad loss and who's shown us that they can move the ball down the field.
Yeah, this isn't one I've tracked too closely, but I know the line was at 17 and a half earlier in the week, so it's moved up a pretty significant number. But I think people who watched App State last week and like saw how electric they were on offense, like this is not going to be the same App State offense. A&M is completely like going to overmatch them. They have way better players and just way bigger offensive and defensive linemen. I don't know if A&M has the explosiveness to win this game by 3 touchdowns, but
Mhm.
on paper they should.
Yeah, I mean, they should beat them by a lot, but we've seen Texas A&M recently play against some of these more unique teams. Like I'll probably say Appalachian State's a pretty unique team,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't always come out to the most explosive starts. That's just not who they are as a team. But
Yeah.
let's go to Pitt against Tennessee. Pittsburgh is at home, but Tennessee is favored by 6 points, so a touchdown. This to me is a crazy line that just shows how the AP poll is not like the metric you really want to look at because Pittsburgh is currently ranked 17th, Tennessee's ranked 24th.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot where these teams are ranked in my personal poll, but there's something off there. And I agree with Vegas here. I think that line is pretty solid. I think Tennessee will win the game. I don't know if I like to bet any of these. Maybe the over 64.5. It's a big number, but I think both these offenses are pretty solid, and I question the defenses. But if I were to bet something, it'd probably be the over 64.5.
Yeah, I had Pitt plus the 7 earlier this week. I think it's at 6 now. I think you
Yes.
said, but you're right. Like this is actually something I commented on about Twitter. It's like the AP poll has like no idea who's better than who, and like Tennessee is the better team here. But I think this is just like last year, going to be an extremely high scoring game. Could come down to whoever has the ball last could win it, kind of thing. I think Pitt is a solid team. I don't currently have them ranked, but their defense is better than a lot of people will give them credit for just because of the previous year. I think Keaton Slovis probably does enough to keep Pitt in this game. But I'm guessing Tennessee's gonna score. Not at will, I'd say, but I'd be pretty shocked if this game wasn't in the high 30s, low 40s.
Yeah, I really like the over 64 and a half. I think
Yeah,
that's probably if you want to bet this game, I think that's what I would do. Because
that's a high number. That's a high number too.
it is, but like the Tennessee -6 on the road,
Yeah,
that seems a little bit egregious. I don't know.
and like, look, this is a. I actually bet on this game last year. I bet Pitt to win, to cover on the road last year because I thought they were the better team. But this year, I think Tennessee's the better team. That number is just too high for me.
Yeah. There's so many interesting matchups this week, at least like within different Power Five conferences. I want to just touch upon because we haven't talked about Wisconsin that much, but they
Yeah,
host Washington State. Washington State is the this matchup is um literally like the Washington State might be like the anti-Wisconsin in their style of play. Like I'm not sure what to expect here. What I do know is I think um Braylon Allen is going to score a bunch of times, score at least 2 touchdowns this one. Washington State's run defense is really pretty horrendous. But the line's at 17 favoring Wisconsin.
hmm
I think that might be high.
yeah.
I think
I,
that's definitely high actually. And so like
I
I think I already placed this, but I have Washington State plus this. I think I got it like 17 and a half maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a line that I thought was too high. I didn't end up betting it. It's not one of my plays this week, but if I were to have a lean, it's probably Washington State plus the points. I'm just like if like you said about Braylon Allen, I'd be pretty shocked if he didn't run for 150 yards this week at least. Like this seems like his like national like attention game to start the year
Mhm.
kind of thing. 2:30 game, I believe it's on Fox too.
Yeah.
So I'm also super interested in this game to see how Wisconsin handles Cam Ward because within their division, they almost never see a quarterback like him. Just a super mobile guy that can
Yeah.
make plays. And I am just interested to see how Wisconsin kind of uses their linebackers to sort of trail him and keep him from using his legs.
Yeah. I don't want to spend too much time on some of these games because we do have to hurry up a little bit, but let's go quickly. Houston at Texas Tech. Texas Tech favored by 4 points. Um, I would stay away from this one. Like Houston is they barely escaped that game against UTSA last week, and I think they're probably gonna be a little bit banged up or just they might need a little bit to get in that groove. They are the better team, and I was actually like fairly impressed with how they played UTSA. Texas Tech, though, I was also impressed with, and I think that they could be an interesting team in that conference. I don't lean one direction with this line. I think this is pretty spot on.
I have Texas Tech -3 actually.
Hmm.
I think that Houston's offensive line last week was pretty bad, and I actually think Texas Tech's pass rush, especially with Tyree Wilson, is pretty good. This is a Texas Tech team that won 6 games last year. Like they're no pushover, and I think Houston having to go on the road in within the state back-to-back weeks, going from UTSA to a more talented Texas Tech team is going to be some trouble. I think Texas Tech wins this one.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Donovan Smith go up against a solid defense because I mean he's only a sophomore, and I know he's only played a few games, but everything I've been told in the offseason about Texas Tech was that like this kid is the future, and like you need to be watching him. So I'm excited to see him against a solid defense.
For sure.
Let's go on to we have so many cool ones. I really gotta be selective here. Ooh, let's go Kentucky, Florida. Florida jumping all the way to number 12 in the polls. They're favored by 6.5. This one I do feel pretty comfortable with. And as much as I love Florida, and I mean they are very highly ranked in my rankings, I think that Kentucky is this is just one of those games where the team who looks really, really good the week before and one team looks really like all right.
Yeah.
And then everyone all of a sudden is going to be playing Florida and the points. And I think that line's been moving up a ton. But we can't forget that Kentucky came into the season as like one of the better teams in the SEC East, and I believe that they are a good enough team to win this game on the road, and I think that they're at least a good enough team to cover 6.5.
Yeah, I got him at 6, I think a day or two ago, but you're right. I think this is an overreaction to what Florida did week 1. Like Florida, they play an overly emotional game in which Utah probably should have won. And like the question I've been asking myself all week is if Cam Rising doesn't throw that pick on the one, if Tavion Thomas doesn't fumble on the one earlier in the game, like is this line still 6? Probably not. So I think Kentucky plus 6 is the play here. That line's too big.
Yeah, I feel like Florida's due for like a Florida moment, you know?
I still think they could absolutely win the game, but this is a good spot for Kentucky.
Yep. Also interesting, like over under 51.5. I just think it's an interesting line. I feel like it's a lot of points for these
Yeah,
teams. Yeah.
that is a lot of points actually.
Let's go on to Pac-12 country, USC going against Stanford, who they've struggled to play at for a while now, which they shouldn't have.
Yeah,
But USC is favored by 8 points, over under 67.5.
that's a crazy number.
I'm taking the under. Like that one, I feel pretty confident with. I feel like that's so many points.
Yeah, I think I actually have USC as part of my teaser. It's the second part. I think I got them down from like 10-3. I want to say I think they're gonna win this game. Now, they could struggle a little early. It's like in Riley's first game with this team against a like Power 5 opponent. Don't want to say like real opponent because I don't think Stanford's very good. But this is it's a rivalry game. They play week 2 every single year. It feels like, and it's early in the season, so I'm not sure USC goes and covers that 8. Which, by the way, it's been moving down like rapidly.
Yeah, it has. It has.
That number. But I think USC at the end of the day just has much more talent, and whether or not you think their defense is in any way good, I think they're still probably a better defense than Stanford. So I think the one thing that maybe could keep Stanford in this game is they won't be too overmatched on the coaching side. I think David Shaw is a very good coach, but I like USC in my teaser here. But this is a line at 8 I would completely stay away from.
Let's go to a few more of the top 25 teams playing. We got Arizona State, my least favorite team in college football, going against Oklahoma State. For some reason, Oklahoma State is only favored by 12.5. I'm demolishing this line. I'm betting the mortgage on Okie State minus 12.5.
Yeah,
Arizona
I stayed
State
away
bad.
from
Arizona
I
State's
think
not good.
I think Arizona State's really bad. But this is one I stayed away from. I just couldn't grasp why the line was where it was. So this is one I stayed away from. But you're absolutely right. Oklahoma State's the much better team. I'm not super high on Oklahoma State. I'm actually pretty low on Oklahoma State compared to the rest of the country. But I still think they're way better than Arizona State.
Why is this line so low? Like to me, this seems like a game that would be like a 16.5.
Yeah, what is it at now? 12, 12
It's
and a half?
12.5, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I know, and this was at 11 and a half earlier in the week. So, like, I can't imagine before kickoff next week, tomorrow, it gets up to like more than 13 and a half. It's not going to go to 2 touchdowns, I would imagine. But yeah,
Like why doesn't Arizona State get the same treatment as like group of 5 schools when they play top 25 Power 5 schools?
Also, I want to throw out that, like, would this line be at 12 and a half if like Oklahoma State didn't just like completely step off the gas and put their offense in park in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, like that's
Like,
another thing.
They don't get it twisted. They were blowing out Central Michigan and just like took their foot off the gas.
Yeah. No, they were way better than Central Michigan. I mean, they were up like 44 like 14 or
Yeah,
something.
I mean, it never looked like Central Michigan had a chance of covering that, and
Yeah,
then they get a late touchdown and they cover it.
yeah. But let's go late night game. We got Baylor against BYU. This is the one I'm super excited for.
Hmm.
BYU is a home favorite at 3 points, basically even. That's what this is.
Yeah.
I personally love Baylor. I've been super high on them. They're very high in my personal rankings. I gotta pull these up next time so I can like talk about them. But Baylor's good, and I also think BYU is a good team. I think both teams can be good. I just think this seems like a game where Baylor's going to go on the road and just win just because they can dominate the lines.
I'm not sure they're going to dominate the lines. I think BYU is better up front than.
BYU, no, BYU's got one of the better O lines in the country. I
Mhm.
just am that high on Baylor's defensive line.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah, with Baylor, it's kind of sort of like I don't even know who to compare them to because they're such a weird program in terms of talent development. They're always going to be a good program under Aranda. They really won't have down years, and they're down even their down years. They'll probably go like 8-4, 9-3. Like this is a very good program, and these players that they get just like come out of nowhere. They're so good at finding talent. I just think BYU being at home in this ruckus crowd, I think they get Baylor in this one. I was waiting all week for that line to come down from 3.5 to 3, and it finally actually did like 2 hours ago. So I placed it, but this is gonna be probably this is gonna end up probably being the game of the week. It's gonna be an
Yeah,
extremely good game.
I just think Baylor's built for games like this. Like the
Yeah, I
team is
mean
built for these
it
types of
might
road
be.
games. Like
Yeah,
they're not going to Norman to play this game. Like
no,
they're not going to Austin to play this game. They're going to Provo.
they're tough. They're ready to face teams like this.
Let's go on to one more, and I just want to include this just because it's super funny. But Michigan is favored against Hawaii, and the current line is Michigan minus 52 points, with the over under at 67. This is I think this might be the biggest line of the week, maybe.
Easily. This is like one of the
Um,
biggest lines I've ever seen.
and yet I still think it should be higher.
I was like,
I was texting Dylan Yoss the other day. I mean, he hasn't been on the pod in a while, but I was texting him. He was like, he always takes the points for like any of these lines over like 48.
mhm.
And I was like, this line needs to be closer to 60 than 48. Like Michigan, and also the fact that Michigan like wants to show up as offense because this is like the JJ McCarthy like what can you do for us game, and so like there's no reason for any of the quarterbacks who enter the game to like take their foot off the gas. They want to score as many points as possible.
Yeah.
Hawaii might be the worst FBS team in the last like 30 years. Like they're terrible.
Yeah.
This is going to be ugly. This is a game where I can see Michigan winning like 64 to like 3 or 7.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, and that would be a cover pretty easily. So
Yeah.
I just I can't take myself to
That
sit
line is
sit,
so
da-
funny.
sit down and sweat out a line that's 52 points.
That is
So
such a funny line. I mean, I'll be at the
yeah.
game. It'll be crazy. For some reason, that's one of our night games. We get 2 night games the entire
What's
year.
what's the other one?
Michigan State.
Ah, okay.
So
Okay.
we get Michigan State and we get Hawaii.
Interesting.
Should be a
Interesting.
fun one. I don't know if we have time for a few more.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple plays on my card that I didn't mention. I like Mizzou +8 against Kansas State. I think that I obviously go to Mizzou. Kansas State's a better football team than us, but we're not 8 points worse than them.
Yeah, I like
But
that line too.
oh, you're gonna hate this one. I took Iowa -3.5 this week
I don't hate it. You know, I know why I don't hate it,
because people overreact to what happened in week one.
and also because Iowa State's not that good.
Yeah, I don't
For
think
for how bad Iowa's offense is, Iowa State, you look at them play and you're like, this team's like, why do
I
we have to make fun of Iowa all the time? We never make fun of Iowa State.
Iowa State don't won't move the ball. Like Iowa's defense is too good, and like Iowa State's a team that will turn the ball over against Iowa, and they will set them up with scores. So,
Real quick, we talk about a game tonight, Louisville against
oh
UCF.
yeah,
UCF only favored by 6. Well,
hmm
what is this?
um,
Louisville just lost by a ton. They were terrible.
yeah, it's Vegas trying to even out the money, probably. Like Vegas probably feels good. I don't know what the public play on this is. I'm actually searching it up as we speak. But I mean, UCF is probably the best team in the American, in my opinion. I think they're better
They're
than
good. No, 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 they're not like they're a legitimately like good team.
yeah, and like they have talent. Like they have some NFL players. This is a
Yeah.
good UCF team, and like it's always a good UCF team. But yeah, so 68% of the bets on UCF, 60% of the money on UCF as well. So the sharps agreeing with the public on this one. That doesn't happen very often.
Question: If Louisville starts the season 0-3, are they firing Satterfield?
Who do they play next week?
I gotta check actually. I think they play. I think they have a winnable game. Oh no, they play Florida State,
So
and then
here's the
South
thing.
Florida. Them they could start the season 0-5.
Here's the thing. Who do they play South Florida after?
South Florida, then Boston College.
Oh, they won't start 0-5. South Florida's terrible. Yeah, Gary Bohannon had the worst EPA per play of any quarterback in the FBS last week.
Yeah,
He is awful. And I cannot believe that Baylor won the games they did starting him at quarterback.
that was so funny.
But I mean, like, here's what I'll tell you. If you look at this in a microscope, Louisville should not be losing to the Syracuse team. And the way they lost to was really bad. They shouldn't be losing to a group of 5 team as good as UCF is. And then Florida State is just like going to like physically dominate them, I feel like. So
Yeah,
like I've been telling this to like my friends this week. It's crazy how Mizzou hired their Appalachian State coach after Louisville did. Like we got like the second choice of Appalachian State coaches, and ours is still better than theirs.
yeah. Louisville is so. Ugh.
But
I,
yeah, I think like the race to be fired first, I feel like right now is 3 guys, and it's Jeff Collins, it's Scott Frost, and it's Scott Satterfield.
you know what? I'm just like looking through who could be the next coach of Louisville. Wouldn't you think Neil Brown would do a good job there? He's from Louisville, by the way.
I'm not sure Neil Brown's making it through the year at West Virginia.
So what about a little trade? What about
Satterfield to West
they send
Virginia.
Satterfield to West Virginia and they send Neil Brown back to Louisville?
I'm not sure that both of those would be fits, but like I mean the Satterfield thing at Louisville has just been a disaster, and like they kind of were in a bad spot when he took over
Yeah,
there.
but you know what? They paid for a 5-star running back.
Yeah,
So I mean, you might have to keep him.
I mean, yeah, it's just a mess right now. A couple others just to finish this up. I have West
Yeah.
Virginia minus 13 against Kansas. I think they're way better than them, and everyone's kind of overreacting to Kansas beating a really bad Tennessee Tech team at
Uh-huh.
week 1. And then the other one I took is I think everyone's kind of overreacting to Oregon State week 1. So I took Fresno State as a pick 'em. I
Okay.
also have Arizona. I also have Arizona plus 10.5, but that's one not
Let's go.
I'm not fairly
Arizona.
confident about that one because the line's been moving up. It went from 10 to I think I got it at 10.5. I think it's 11 now. But
By the
I
way,
just
Arizona, if they somehow win again this weekend, they only need one more game to reach their win total over
yeah.
under 3
No,
wins.
but I was just doing my research on that one. Like, there's gonna be like a monsoon like in Arizona this week. Like, I think
Air raid. You don't want the air raid then.
Mississippi State coming across country. Like, it's gonna be not so good weather. Like, this could be a weird one. And also,
Um,
like this is one to me that like feels like you like turn on late because it's Pac-12 after dark, and you're just like watching and like Arizona's in it, and you just like don't know how.
Listen, dude, I think Arizona, it's time they earn the respect, and that's going to be shown on full display this weekend. This team, Vegas disrespected them so badly with the over under win total of 3. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Mhm. This is not a bad football team. They got a lot better.
Dude, 3-win football teams. That's like Indiana, like
Mhm.
Illinois,
Colorado.
Colorado. Arizona would kill like all
Also,
those.
like this Arizona team is like historically bad program. They were in a New Year's Six bowl like pretty recently. So
Pretty recently. Was that the year they had what's his face?
Khalil Tate, yeah,
Khalil
20,
Tate.
2014.
Wait,
I believe
was that
lost.
Rich Rod or was that someone? Who was that?
I think it was Rich Rod.
Oh my God, that was a little bit ago though. Like that was a few years ago.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. But like, yeah, I think Arizona is gonna cover this.
Okay, I think we went through all we wanted to get through. We
Yeah,
went through a ton of games, ton of plays. We're gonna wrap this up now. We're probably gonna do another, maybe like this. This is a cool little schedule. Maybe get Jack on for our recap next week. Should be some awesome football. Hope everyone enjoys and has a good time. Again, thanks for listening and see y'all next week.